Fun fact, guys. I'm here with Emily today, and we have rescheduled this podcast episode 4 times. Yes, 4 times. It is a new world record. But we are here today, and I do want to say what I thought we were going to talk about. We nixed that. So we have a new topic to talk about, and I think that some of you are going to be very happy because thinking about it, it is something that I talk about often, but I don't think I've had an episode on it in at least 2 years. So, Emily, welcome to Business First Creatives.
Thanks for having me.
So, guys, today we're going to talk about outsourcing. And I feel like you're just like, oh, yeah, you talk about outsourcing all the time. But Emily's got a different kind of spin on it that we're going to talk about. And I also feel like I see several people in my emails, in my DMs, just in the social space in general, that y'all really need some outsourcing. I mean, if I could just like wave my magic wand and tell you guys to do something, it would be outsourcing. And I'm not even talking about strategy, which is what both Emily and I, focus on. We're very experienced in, but like I see a lot of people still in the process of doing when they should really be in the process of asking somebody else to do it. So Emily, let's kickstart this off. I'm curious, what's the first thing that you outsourced in your business?
Fun fact, I have not outsourced unless
At
you count
all?
AI. No, because I have never had, at my peak, I've only had 4 clients at a time. And I have never prioritized social media.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I did the math once when I was going to launch something, and I had for 2 years a total of 60 posts. And so that would have been the thing I outsourced.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had an official website. So again, the things I would outsource for, I never prioritized. I just didn't plan for. I was like, cool, referrals, just build my business that way. I don't have to have a website. I don't want to be on social, like all that kind of stuff. So again, the things I would outsource, copywriting, website design, brand photography, all that kind of stuff, just haven't come up yet for me. Haven't been a priority.
So you do your own bookkeeping?
Yes. Which I would not recommend is that I started to look into that, and then I lost my big client. And so I was like, cool, that's going to go on the back burner. But yeah, I've taken a lot of like webinars, but I also, when I was at a retreat, we had a bookkeeper come in and talk about it. And I was like, oh yeah, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to be in that. And quite frankly, I've never been at that income level where I felt it was necessary.
See, I don't typically think of bookkeeping as something that you have to be at a certain level of income. I think that it sometimes has a lot of things to do with you hating a particular thing. I mean, we're probably going to get into this conversation of why you choose to outsource the thing that you choose to outsource. And bookkeeping for a lot of people isn't necessarily about income. It isn't necessarily about the volume, which that's what it was for me for a very long time. It was the volume. And I don't even want to say it was the volume of transactions from my clients, because I could totally handle that. I mean, when you're selling a $5,000 offer, you're not selling it to that many people, right? But what I do is I buy a lot of shit. I buy a lot of $27 offers that all need to be categorized in QuickBooks. And I math degree, math professor. Hello. I also took many, many, many classes in both undergrad and graduate for accounting. So even though I am not a legit accountant, I feel like I probably have more skills than most people that we know. But I finally started outsourcing my bookkeeping because it was the thing that I dreaded. And I personally would not categorize. I mean, feeling heart palpitations talking about this. I personally would not do my bookkeeping until 3 days before tax season, before tax day.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny we're talking about that, because I just said it out loud to someone yesterday. Come hell or high water, January 1st, I will be set up properly for bookkeeping and taxes, because I think when I'm also just coming out of some survival mode kind of in your business, when you get in those times where you're just like, I don't know what's happening, and you're kind of just taking everything. So investments were low, which I'm like you. I usually am like, course, just give me all the things. So, but I also, because systems are my thing, I've created system to track all of that. So I'm not relying on me to pull it at the end when taxes are due.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's definitely, that is not an area I feel confident in. And do know that it's something that is the difference between pulling my hair out when taxes are due
Mhm.
and feeling like, cool, I got a handle on this.
No, 3 straight days is what I used to do before April 15th. It used to be in red Sharpie marker on my calendar because for
Yeah.
3 days straight, I would barely eat. And I would lock myself in my office and I would basically categorize, 12 months worth of expenses. And the worst, I mean, and you would think that I would have learned my lesson.
Yeah.
The absolute worst was the travel mileage. So I would
Uh,
have to go back and find every single one of my clients, figure out when I went to their house, when I came back, figure out the mileage. I would basically build my spreadsheet then. Now, eventually I started using a mileage tracker, but
yeah.
even then I was like not swiping left or right, which I know it sounds like a dating app, but you swipe, I don't know, left for business and right for personal.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that until right before tax season, and I would do it. And I was also one of those people that like just did it enough to get my taxes where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
I know for a fact I could always have more deductions. I really could.
For sure.
But there was a point where I would just do enough. And when I was like, oh, I owe like 2,500. You know what? That's good enough for me. Let me just stop looking for more deductions, pay the $2,500
Yeah.
and go on about my day. So that's how taxes were for me. Now I have bookkeepers. Now I don't do any of that stuff.
To be fair, can I ask a clarifying question?
Mhm.
When you are talking about this, like when you first hired a bookkeeper and like what you're talking about with mileage tracking, was this when you were a photographer?
Yes.
Okay, see, that's the other thing. Like, I think if I was doing something more like that, like where I was out of the house and stuff, that would have been a whole different discussion. But my business is literally me on my laptop.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think in my head, right or wrong, it's like I didn't feel the need for a bookkeeper,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to be going into year 4 of being full-time, like left my job full-time in this. And it's like, probably time to get that dialed in.
Probably time to get that dialed in, Emily, but it's
It was
okay.
probably
I
time
mean,
like 2 years ago, if we're being real, but
that's okay. I think I'm going to be your buddy in this. And so
yes,
maybe on like January 15th, I'm going to be like, hey, Emily, did you find yourself a bookkeeper? Or
exactly.
did you just bare minimum set your QuickBooks up?
Well, I've selfishly tried to get my best friend to become a bookkeeper because she's good with numbers. And I was like, you can make some serious good like side hustle money once you're set up. She hasn't done it. So
I mean,
now
I
I've
feel
done
you, Emily. I used to
yeah.
have a teaching assistant in my photography education business. So,
Mm.
I mean, I educate people on
Yeah.
systems now, but way back in the beginning of my photography business, I made a course in the first year of being a photographer.
Jeez.
It
Yeah.
was a course on how to build your lifestyle photography business. And I had a
Mm.
teaching assistant. And selfishly, I taught Kayla how to make films because I needed someone to film my family, and I didn't like all of the other people that
Yeah.
like offered this service. So I was like, hey, Kayla, like, I don't care if you ever offer video services to any of your clients, but I need you to learn.
Yeah.
And then I need you to come to Denver, and then I need you to film my family. And she did great. And I mean,
See?
now she makes, lots and lots of money off of making films for other people. But selfishly, I definitely taught her how to do it just so that I could hire somebody that I liked, that I
Yeah.
trained.
I'm like, because my friend likes numbers. She likes when they all like, likes the simplicity of it. And I'm like, I could do it if I put attention to it. I just would be bored. I think I would just like be so bored. And I think she really likes it. So I was like, you could learn QuickBooks. And just saying, I know there's a lot of people who have online businesses who would just want someone who could just do their QuickBooks.
You're like, I'm just saying, I know these people
I
make
could be
lots
your
of money.
test client.
Well, let's talk about other things. So,
Yes.
if you've never outsourced in your
Yeah.
business, let's flip it and say, what do people typically come to you to outsource? Like, what is the biggest pain point that most of your clients have?
Most of my clients, it's the tech setup in the backend for courses, funnels, that kind of things. Onboarding, not manually. Sometimes I like see people still say that they do it manually. And I was like, I didn't think people still did that. Because
I mean, like,
like,
how do you do that? I don't even know how you would do that. Like, they buy
I
my
it's
thing in Thrivecart, they get added to the Thrivecart course, like they get pushed over to my email marketing and they get an email. And I realize that sounds very technical, but like that shit took me an hour to set up. And I
yes.
realize I am not your ideal client. I am very tech savvy, but still, like I just like really.
One, and sometimes, so my first 2 years was solely people who were starting to get into the online education space. Like one of them was going from brick and mortar to starting to coach people, then wanted to do a group program. She had no idea how to like do the group program. So it was like helping map out the group program and then setting it up. But my first big client came to me because they were about to launch their second round of a group program. And they're like, I don't have the time for all of this. Like, I'm done. And I was like, cool. And so I come in and take the
Mhm.
tech step off their plate.
Nice. So if they're coming to you because they're, moving from like a service perspective or it was brick and mortar
Mm.
into like the education space, there is a lot of tech that
Yes.
happens. And so I think my first question to you is, are people coming to you kind of with a blank slate and just saying, Emily, this is my business, help me? Or are they coming to you with the particular tech stack that they've already kind of, told
Mm.
themselves that they're going to use and they're looking for your help in implementation?
It's been kind of half and half, honestly. I prefer the ones who come to me with a blank slate because we all have our favorites. But I had a client who had invested really heavily in a very high ticket coaching experience that was pushing a particular tech stack
Mhm.
for ads and automations and all this stuff. And she was using like Kajabi for her courses, but she wasn't making money on her courses yet. She was putting all this money out. And I was like, I have to say something. I was like, this is not a fun transition and it's going to feel like a real pain in the butt, but you're spending all this money on Kajabi. If you had Thrivecart, like while you're trying to start make money, it's not going out the door
Mhm.
hosting your stuff. So I did talk her into, I think I've talked three clients into switching to Thrivecart.
I
Um,
mean, Thrivecart is good bare bones. I mean, I use Thrivecart for my things, but
mhm,
I have never paid for Kajabi as an educator. I've
yeah,
been in it as like a student, so I'm very familiar with Kajabi. And now there seems to be like an insurgence of people who are going to Circle for their courses and their memberships. So there's a lot of different tech pieces,
it
but like
depends. Yeah.
Thrivecart does the job. Like it gets the job done.
If it's a straight up like delivering like course stuff, like recordings, documents, that kind of stuff, absolutely Thrivecart is plenty. But I mean, there's nuance to everything, right? I think Circle has a nice interface and they've expanded some things. I prefer them over Mighty Networks and
Mhm.
School and all of that, or a Facebook group. Gosh, but
Have Facebook groups just not died yet? I mean, I don't go
they
on Facebook
haven't.
anymore, and so I just assume they all died.
Like they haven't completely, and there's like again, there's reasons to it because if you've spent years building a Facebook group and you have thousands of people in there, like you run the risk if you try to transfer to even still free
Mhm.
to a platform like School, you probably are going to get maybe 10% of your people to
Oh,
transfer.
I did that. But
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, I
Hmm.
switched my people to a BB bulletin board. Do you remember
Oh,
those? That
yes.
tells you how long ago I had this course. Yes,
Yeah.
2014, I believe it was, or
I was going to
2015.
say that's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
long time ago. But I used to build like online courses when I was still a professor. So like I built the whole bulletin board, everything was great, but it was like pulling teeth to get my photographers off of Facebook onto a different platform. So when I was still just teaching photographers, like it was a very steep hill to climb, getting them into the platform. I did lose a lot of people. I mean, they had already, done the course, but it is a struggle to like keep the membership, keep the not
Hmm.
membership, but like keep the community going, if you
Yeah.
will. But I just can't stand Facebook. And so I've just decided that it's fine. If people have Facebook groups and that's what they run their community
Yeah.
on for their courses, that's just not a course that I need.
I think but we've seen such an exodus from that because I think people were getting the memo. Nobody wanted to log into Facebook to be in a part of their group. They're like, I'm just going to take the content. I don't need all that. And so I think you're seeing more people go to something like a School or something, or even just moving it to like Telegram. something
Mhm.
that's a separate app. They don't have to log into social media, because that's the other thing. A lot of us are very choosy about what social media we're on right now. But yeah, I've had to work in platforms that I, don't love, of course. I've worked on the back end of Kajabi. I've set everything up. My argument with platforms like that is their pricing structure. It's really, unless you're at a certain level, and even then, you're spending a lot of money to host videos,
Mhm.
really, and it's not necessary.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about people like kind of coming to you to set up online courses and that sort of thing. But let's talk about like what people would come to you for if they wanted strategy. Because you and I were kind of talking before we hit record about VIP days. And I was like, okay, wait, what's your spin on it? Because no, VIP days were my jam. And I mean, you and I have only met recently, but VIP days were my jam until the beginning of last year. And then I was like, no, I have to figure out a way to not do these anymore. But you are thinking of doing like a VIP day, and tell me how it is that you are going to present the offer to people, because it is very different from like what you said, a service of like website design. So
Right.
let's talk about what is it that you would be selling in a VIP day?
I have also gone down the rabbit holes with VIP days. I love the concept, but I'm like, I'm not going to commit to building something in 8 hours. That's bless anyone who could do that. That's a lot. And but I I love strategy sessions, but my strategy sessions aren't just like a coach on Voxer, like do this, do this, do this. I'm share your screen. Let's walk through this. Let's build this, like troubleshooting tech, all of that stuff. I mean, I can't turn that part of my brain off. And so I found that just those like 90-minute strategy sessions, they're great if you're really just like stuck on something, stuck on a problem. But what I want to do is more very similar to what you do for photographers and creatives. I want to help people who have group programs and multiple offers button up their client experience
Mm-hmm.
for that offer. And really, when you're doing that, you don't really want to try to limit it to 90 minutes. I mean, I did one today and it was 3 hours, and we're literally going module, lesson, like each one, and troubleshooting things like, well, there's a gap here. What about doing this? And like, it's just, I think it would be better as a half day experience where we're literally on Zoom together. And it kind of also helps when you're needing to get something done. Like, you need that body double to be like, now go do it. So I think that's it. It's also, and I'm sure you've experienced this, people don't prioritize that. It's more, what's the launch, what's the sales page, what's the messaging, all things that are important, not saying that. But if people buy your offer and then they are just like, the onboarding's not great, they get too confused. I mean, you can tell when you go into your platforms and stuff, you can tell completion rates. And when you have low ones, it's usually because there's something missing in your client experience. And so I think it's just keeps getting pushed down the list. And I'm like, if we can get it done in 3 hours, and it's going to make you feel more confident when you go into launching, knowing as soon as people buy, they're going to be in a really well thought out onboarding sequence. And then once they're in the program, it's accessible, like for multiple learning types. It's not something that you're asking them to sit down and watch an hour-long video, which no one's going to do. And you're going to get people to complete it, which means getting them into your next offer is going to be that much easier.
I mean, the value of
Mm.
repeat clients. I feel like I've
Mm.
said this quite a few times recently, but it is that if you put the emphasis on your client experience, because, almost all of us have people who have bought our thing.
Yep.
But then we're always marketing. We're always putting
Mm.
new shit out. We're always being told that you have to, expand your audience, be on social media. We were all joking around
Yeah.
the other day on our group
Yep.
call, and I was like, fuck that.
No.
But
Yep.
if you just spend a little bit more energy on the people who are already in your container, chances are you have something else that you could sell them. Or if they have a really great experience, they're going to tell their friends, and then they do the marketing for you. I just don't
Exactly.
know how to convince people that this
Yeah.
is like the way that you make more money in your business without constantly marketing to bring in new leads. Now, I'm not saying that, I mean, Emily, you might have the only business that doesn't need new leads, because when you get your little core people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're set until one of those people doesn't need your services anymore.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little jealous of that. I mean, I do need new people, but when I
Yes.
sat down with Emily Williams,
Mm-hmm.
and we were basically plotting out, how many people do I want to take inside of Systems in Session?
Right.
I mean, it's 40 people a year. I don't need an email list of 10,000
You
people
don't.
in order to
Mm-mm.
sell 40 spots for a program. And if
Right.
I just sold 40 spots for Systems in Session at the new price point, I will have hit my goal for the year. And I mean, I don't foresee that being, super hard, but like,
Right.
I don't need to bring in 100 new leads a month. That's
No.
not the kind of business that I'm running. But I do
No.
want to like take a step back, because you said
Yeah.
something interesting about getting on there and prioritizing it and doing it with them. Because
Mm.
I happen to know a lot of people that would hate that. They're like, wait, I have to be on a call with you for like 3 hours.
Mm.
So did you choose this medium because it's
Mm.
better for you, or that you think it's better for your clients? Because when it comes to like going in someone's course
Mm.
and like evaluating the client experience, like, I'm not you, and I don't think that's my next job. I always joke around when I interview people, hey, in my next life, that's going to be my next
Yeah.
job. But I think that I could totally do that in a way that I used to do it when I was a college professor, and basically go into people's classes, look at the curriculum, make notes, and then make the suggestions. And then
Mm-hmm.
if they say, okay, that's good, then you could just do it behind the scenes. So what's the benefit to you first doing
Mm.
it synchronously instead of asynchronously?
So it's a great question. And I do think because it's a newer offer, you're kind of always testing. And I may find after a couple, more clients are going to be like, no, we're not doing it this way. And that's totally fair. And I'm, always willing to adapt that or make it hybrid. My thought behind doing it this way is the majority of my clients are neurodivergent, and you get this, really good dopamine rush when you like have a planning session with someone, you map something out, you get this like ding 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 of clarity, and you're like, oh my god, it's amazing. You get off that like you get off that call and you're like, oh my god. Like you're like your energy tanks, or you get distracted by something. And I just find you lose that feeling that you get when you're like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense,
Mhm.
unless you do something at that moment. And it doesn't even have to be building everything out at that moment. And I don't honestly think that's realistic in even a 3 hour thing. For me, it's we've mapped it out enough that you have it outlined in the actual like course platform. So you know where to start next, right? Or we've put it in whatever task management system you use. We've made extra notes. We've linked where things are at. You've maybe done a voice note or two to yourself for when you pick back up. So it's really not, the goal isn't to have everything done in 3 hours. Otherwise, I would do a typical VIP day. But it's more so you don't lose that momentum. We've set you up in a way that you can pick it up and finish it.
See, and I thought you were going to say something different. So I'm going to kick in what I thought. And then maybe this is just in the back of your mind as well. I feel like there's this ever growing trend right now towards micro wins. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
if you're on a call with someone and you're discussing something, and then, you've made a decision, and it might take them 30 minutes to an hour to go and do it themselves. But us as tech people and strategy
Mm-hmm.
people, we're like, no, I can just take 10 minutes and fix that for you. I feel like the faster that you can give your people the micro wins, especially when it comes to client experience and tech and things that are, people think are very difficult, they will be more motivated to take the next step. So I mean, I know that from my own experience, because when I started doing Systems in Session, I don't know how familiar you are with my program, but I offer two different types of support. They can either submit a support ticket, in which I will record like a Loom video while I'm doing it for them. There are some people who prefer that. And then there are other people who just book a 20-minute call with me, get on, and we do it together. And I'm one of those people that if I've told you to do something, I literally have Airtable, because we both love Airtable reminders. I get Airtable pings if I haven't heard from you in a week. And then basically the message that I send you is, how's this coming along? If you haven't made any progress, you need to schedule an SOS call so that we can at least start the next part of this process. Because then once, sometimes they get stuck and they're so stuck that they can't even submit the support ticket. But if I get you live on a call, oh, you're going to tell me what the problem is. I'm going to spend like 10 of our 20 minutes getting you started. And then I'll be like, okay, so can you take it from here or do we need another call? But so I think micro wins is like a big part of, working with people, especially, I mean, I myself need the micro wins now more than I ever
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. And I think, my brain is now buzzing with everything you're saying. So we're just going to do an offer development right here, right now. But I like having a choice. Some people really do want to jump on a call and talk it out because they need to brain dump, and what they thought they were clear on, maybe they're not. But some people, like you're saying, could give me a brain dump, record it, whatever, and then give me access. And I would be happy to go in that way because I am really nosy and I love being in the back end of people's businesses and being like, okay, what do we got going on here? So it's interesting. I think there's pros and cons to both. And I think it's just different people too.
Yeah.
If you're a doer, like Emily Williams, she is a doer. She can just get it done.
I'm also a doer.
Yeah. So that's why it's easy for me to do strategy sessions with her. And by the time we're done, she's mapped out her entire course, her podcast, her marketing plan, like everything. And it's in her systems. But there's also people who maybe are a little bit more like me, who are like, I need to talk it out, see the whole picture. And I need to know what my first steps are, like point by point.
Yes.
So that when I start to spiral, when we get off this call, I can just be like, no, I have it. This is it, And so I think there's a lot of value in offering options. So
I mean, I've even started doing that with my systems and session people. When we get off a call, even if I know there are 4 things that you need to do, I only tell you the first one. Like I send you one of my little notes in Airtable and I'm like, hi, Emily, this is your next task. If you need a template to do it, if you need like a how-to video or whatever, I quickly record it. I go grab the link to the template. I send that all to you. And I say, when you are done, send me a support ticket so that I can review it, give you feedback, and then give you your next task, even though technically we've already decided the next 4 things that you're doing. But I have found that in this container, I do have to piecemeal it out. And it's funny, when I was looking at sold out sessions, I told Emily, I was like, yeah, I have to have calls. Because the thing that drives me most insane is when I ask a question and then I have to wait for the response.
Gosh,
like,
right.
I need the live, because I am such a doer. If you just answer my question, I can go get it done in 15 minutes and then I'm done. But if I ask you the question and then I got to sit and wait like 3 or 4 days for your response, I mean, I have already spiraled, figured it out myself and moved on to the next thing.
Yeah. You're like, thanks, I got this.
I got this.
And that's why I don't like jumping on random calls. Like if I had a session, like people could just book ones throughout my week, that might drive me a little crazy. I like being in Boxer. So if someone has something like that, we're talking about Emily a lot, but Emily has literally sent me Voxers. I'm just going to dump this and you get back to me. Thanks. and, and that's just how it is. When she's spiraling or she has an idea, then I can just immediately come back. Here's what I would do. Here's the steps. I already went into your Google Drive. This is where it's at. Like, I love doing that, which is kind of what you're talking about. And I do think there's something really powerful about having that support. And I have considered, instead of doing it as a VIP day, doing it more like a back pocket kind of thing, where like we do an initial planning session and then you have me in your back pocket for like a month.
Yes. I think that's, since you said we were going to do offer development, I mean, we could sit here and price that.
Well, I actually already have that mapped out. It's called the Launch It Sprint, and it's currently linked in my Instagram bio for $777.
Yes, which I saw that, and I was like, why the 777? Is it like a numerology
Seven's my
thing?
favorite. Sevens are my favorite number. And I was just like, I like that. It's fun. But yeah, no, that is my version of this, where it's like we have the planning and then you have me in your back pocket. We've decided on something and you have me for accountability, those midnight spirals, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of my version of it. I just haven't.
So, I mean, I'm going to bring back the conversation around outsourcing because I think we got away from it, but I'm okay because the conversation is great.
Yeah.
But So, what is it that someone like me might come to you to outsource, knowing that I'm a doer? I mean, you don't
Mm,
know what my human design is, but I've recently figured out I'm a manifester. And it's really funny because ever since I did a call with Breanna Owen, where she told me what my human design was and she was telling me all about manifestors, I was like, okay, so you've basically just given me permission to say fuck it and just tell everybody what to do. So, I feel like now I tell my blog writer, who is also my email copywriter,
right.
like I can't count the number of things that I have told her to do in the last 2 weeks that I would not have done before. But
Mm,
ever since Breanna was like, no, like you get these ideas and you need them to be acted upon, but you are not the person that has to actually do them. And I'm like, yes,
yeah.
you are fucking right. So, what would someone like me want to outsource to someone like you? Because the thing is, all of our other conversations on this podcast about outsourcing have been about editing your photos, outsourcing your
Mm,
bookkeeping, hiring a coach, like the things that we really think of. But I don't think that we ever really come around to the conversation of once you get to a certain level, you've probably already outsourced all those things because I
mhm.
do have a very, I have a
Yeah.
deep, I have a deep roster. But like,
Yeah.
what else would I want to outsource like in the future as I continue to grow my business?
Well, off the top of my head, because you haven't mentioned it and you probably have it in your deep team, but I would say, have you had someone externally look at your client experience?
Hmm.
Because
No.
I think we're really close to it, and I think if you're someone who has all those ideas and you execute on them fast, like having someone, and I don't, let's be real, someone who's like you, who's been in this business and done all these things, you probably don't need to outsource. And there is a point when you have a certain amount of team, you need more like the mentors, the people who are going to help you get from the level you're at to the next level. That's not what I do. And I'm fine with that. But if there was anything, it would be, you know, maybe
No,
that.
I'm totally not going to argue with you. And there's there's a running joke with like Dubsado certified specialists. Hey, I tell you what to do with yours, don't come look at mine. Now I will say my Dubsado account is very clean and nice though, but it doesn't mean that it's like that year round. I mean, I would say quarterly,
Yeah.
biannually, like I tell all my clients, I hop in there and I do look at my emails, mostly because if I'm going to lecture my clients on it, I want to make sure that, my shit is not
Walk your
fucked up.
walk.
Yes.
Yeah.
But most recently, what you're talking about, it's so interesting because I am literally going through systems in session. It's basically been live for a little bit more than 6 months. And the number of things that I have improved in the onboarding, and I just sent a support ticket to Emily talking about the next phase of what I wanted to do because everybody who's come into systems in session listens to my podcast. And I'm like, I want to create a better onboarding process. And I think that I want to do it as a podcast so that they can listen to me, tell them the things that they need before we actually jump into the doing. I want them to have something that mentally prepares them for what we are going to work on together. And I don't think that before that was very important. Not that it's not a good thing, but like literally everybody who's jumped into systems in session, they started within a week or two. But right now, I sold 7 seats, and these people do not start for like another 2 to 3 months. And so it's like this, hey, they were really excited to work with me, but also you've got 2 to 3 months. Like,
But don't
what
leave
can
them
I give
hanging.
you?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I am in the middle of thinking about
Yes.
this, Emily.
Yes. And I think that's the thing is when you first launch something and you have the space and people can just start really fast, or you're in the middle of a live launch if it's a group program and people have joined, but someone saw that and they didn't get to join that cohort but they want to sign up for the next one. I've been that person, and then you're like, yay, I bought something that's not going to start for 2 months and I have nothing. And I think it just gets, like I said, pushed down the list. And I usually find the people I'm working with on their client experience, if we're going by like freshman, sophomore, they're more like sophomores in their business. They've had a couple of these offers come out, they've had group programs or whatever, but they're finding people aren't staying. They're finding people aren't giving them testimonials. They're finding like that things just aren't working the same. And more often than not, if it's not a systems issue, because let's be real, we're both systems people, it might be a systems issue. But more often than not, they're not asking for these things.
Yes.
They're not building the experience to the point that someone knows if they're stuck here, go here. Like that was one of the things I built out with Emily this morning in her program was like, you mentioned, the support ticket and how they can use it. I guarantee you just the name support ticket, they're not thinking of using it the way you're intending them to use it. So every lesson, give them a for instance of how they could use a support ticket if they're stuck.
Yes.
And link it again. And I think it's just sometimes you're so close to it, you're like, this is so obvious. And sometimes you just need that fresh perspective of, no, you're missing. What is this? This doesn't make sense. And let's put something here. And so, yeah, I think we all can use that at different points. And especially the further you get into an offer, the more you're like, how can I make this even better for this round?
I feel like for the last 6 months, I have basically been collecting all of these things because it was new and I was improving. And like one of the things that I ended up creating, and it was funny, I created it for them because I wanted it. When you submit support tickets and you do these SOS calls and you do all this, like I get tired of searching for shit in my inbox. Like, oh my gosh, what did she say in this? Let me go find it. So I went into Softer and built my people a database so that now they can see their calls and their tickets all together so that it's one place. And now they get every single email that they get from me sent in Airtable gives their specific link at the bottom. Something else that I thought of, you kind of mentioned it, but I feel like the first 6 people that went through the program, they were very unclear for the first half of their 60 days when to schedule a call and when to do a support ticket. And so part of my onboarding process now is literally the last thing that I say on that call is, and just so that you know, this is when you should submit a support ticket and this is when you should do a call. And then I say, listen, if you submit a support ticket and I can't answer it without a call, I will let you know. But like, these are the things that you can do for either. And I just thought it was clear as shit which one you did. But, then I realized there was one person who said, oh, I didn't realize that I could schedule that many calls. Really? But I told you 3 times and I know that I did, but maybe you didn't hear me. And I needed to make sure that you saw it like in a hub or in an email so I am also trying to make sure that I am communicating the information in different ways, because when you tell some people some things, they just don't hear you.
No. And that's the thing is that's one of my other things when I'm looking at client experience is if this works because it works for how your brain works, that's great. But not everybody who's going to come through your offer is going to have the same way of processing things. So especially now with the tech being where it's at, offer podcast feeds for your videos. Not everybody wants to sit at a computer.
I did that in my email course.
Yes.
And honestly, it's the best thing. And I was like,
it?
ooh, the next iteration of the blueprint, I'm going to do it because I made the lessons in a different way. There were slides, but I literally just used the slides to keep me on track. I was not saying anything, or there wasn't anything on the slide that I wasn't saying out loud. So they don't need to watch the videos. They can really like listen to me talk about the importance of client communication while they drive around in their car, while they do the dishes. And so that was a big aha moment for me because I really enjoyed listening to my own course back. And I was like, I need this in everything now.
Yes. And now that we have all these tools, it's seriously so easy to do that. And I mean, you could have done that even prior. I always have my Zoom set up. I got the video and the audio recording because I don't like to watch myself. So I didn't want the video recording. But it's not even just that. It's like having someone look at it with fresh eyes. I'm like, I see how this makes sense because I understand how your brain works. But I'm telling you right now, someone who's coming into this, they need it spelled out. Even if it's as simple as like, instead of just doing text, give me a button, give me bold text. Like you really have to think about it. Like I have to not assume people coming in have the context for what I'm saying. Like you have to take out all assumptions. They know how to use, AI prompts. Don't assume. Like it's just like you have to like take it out. So that way, no matter who's in your program, they have tools to make it work.
Yeah. So let's just go on this client experience trail one more time, because I feel like now this episode is going to be focused on this. So What are the other things that you look at when you go into someone's course, service, whatever it is in terms of client experience? I mean, I think we all really focus on the onboarding, and you and I have already like slightly mentioned the offboarding. But are there any other things that you like really look at when you're evaluating someone's client experience and telling them how they could make it a better experience, not only for themselves, but for their clients?
Yes. So my number one thing is the midway point. When people have lost some of that excitement and they haven't seen the finish line,
Mhm.
maybe they've had a couple little wins, whatever, but it's what can we put in here if you've had people reach out, they're getting stuck at a certain point. If you've had more than one person get stuck at a certain point, there's something that needs to be added before that.
Yes.
And I mentioned it to Emily, the first iteration of her sold out services. And I was like, you need to offer a call because there's places people are going to get stuck. And, not everybody's like, oh, cool, here's this instructions and I can go do it. Like, we get in our heads sometimes. And so I found by the time you've run something a couple times at least, a couple clients at least,
Mm-hmm.
you're seeing patterns. You're seeing they really got stuck there. I really had to nudge them hard here. Okay, do they need a new tool, a new template? Do they need a call? Like what's missing here? So for me, it's more they're usually missing in the middle.
Okay. The messy middle,
The
which is
messy middle.
hysterical that you're saying that because it seems like that's the same for people who are doing group programs and services. Because one of the things that I have tried to emphasize to all of my photographers, so photographers, please listen to this one more time. And I actually call it the messy middle. It's the part where they've booked you, they've paid you the money, but you haven't actually done the session yet. It's like, what do you do with those people? And some people are like, oh, well, I send them a prep guide and I send them a questionnaire. Okay, that's lovely if they've booked you 3 to 4 weeks in advance. But if they've booked you 5 months in advance or even a whole year in advance, like wedding photographers, what are you doing? I'm not saying that you have to be their best friend. I'm not saying that you have to email them every week, but it should not be months since they've heard from you related to their photography session. And so, like, I have spent entire calls with people like, okay, but like what information could we give them, what checkpoints could we do? And it's just so interesting that you are seeing the same thing in like other types of services and group programs.
Yeah. And it's funny, I just did that with a wedding photographer. Like mapped out that messy middle part
Mm-hmm.
because and I think it's no different, especially service providers. I think, if you've been working for someone, maybe you're in a retainer situation. Let's be honest, you get to a point of like kind of comfort.
I mean, it
Not
just
com-
feels like you're on the wheel, just
you're
kind
on
of
the wheel,
going
things are
along.
running. That's the time you should be asking for feedback because it's either going to be a testimonial or it's going to be like, actually, I really want to add this thing. Okay, great. Let's talk that out. And I think we just miss it because like another honest moment, like who wants to take the chance that someone's going to say something bad?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a real thing. But I think it's something I look back on when I had a retainer client. I had worked with her for like over 2 years. And I'm like, I look back at points. I'm like, okay, I see where there were points that I could have pushed harder on something
Mm-hmm.
to get a call, a feedback thing, because you need it. And I see it so much in offers, even just as like a consumer. And I'm just like, what is happening? I opened your email that none of these links work. What am I supposed to do?
Okay, so I mean, but like that happens to
That's
me
a
all
real
the time.
thing. It's a
Yes.
real thing.
And I'm always battling with myself whether or not I tell you to fix it. Because I had one very bad experience when I
Yeah.
told someone that I hired to
Mm.
fix their shit and they refunded me. So I
Oh,
was a little gun shy. But
sure.
like recently I hired a copywriter and she
Mm.
uses Dubsado. She did not
Mm.
hire me to set it up. So I don't know if she
Sure.
DIY'd it or somebody helped her. But the first thing that she said on her confirmation page is, you will get an email and you'll be able to add to calendar. And then I got her email and it wasn't on there. So then I had to go manually add it to my calendar and copy and paste the Zoom link. And
Mm.
so then I was in her program and I got another email that didn't have an add to calendar. So when I got on that call, I was like, girl, so just so that you need to go put the smart field in your email so that I can actually get an add to calendar.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm like, yeah, I never know how people are going to react.
Yeah.
But I find something that somebody can fix every time I hire them.
I mean, it's true. I mean, I've even seen it, not someone I've purchased from, but in the bundles that are really popular right now. And they're great. I love seeing them. I'm a junkie for information. I'm not gonna lie to you. I have so much, but what kills me is you're losing an opportunity. It's more like I'm like so sad for them because you've agreed to be a part of this bundle. And there's a list of people. I go to click on your thing and it gives me a 404 page.
Mm-hmm.
You've just lost how many leads?
Jamie told me one of the summits that I did recently, she went to go get my thing and she's like, Coley, just so that you know, this is 404. And the reason that it did it for me was ChatGPT had changed it from public to private. And so it wasn't working for them. But yes, I mean, if you're going to do the shit, at least make sure that it works so that you can get the value.
Yes. And I used to offer like a tech check audit for that. I mean, I had so many people that it was just simple things like, and I get, for me and you, it's probably really automatic. Double check that every link is working, like incognito, like browsers, all the things, right? Like we are checking, but I know it's not, default.
It's not second nature to everybody.
No.
Yes.
I sent, and I posted about this and I got a lot of reactions to it, but last year I sent a video message to someone not in their world, not a customer, not a client, nothing. I kept seeing their ad in my feed. And for 3 days, the link didn't work. And I was like, you are literally wasting money. And I just can't sit here and not say, I just couldn't. So I sent her a video message so she knew I wasn't spamming her, I was like, hey, hi, love your stuff. Just
just so that you know.
Just so you know, this ad that's running, and I gave her a screenshot because you run multiple different types of ads, right? I was like, this is the copy, this is the creative that was coming to me. Each time I opened it, this link didn't work. Wanted to let you know. And then she fixed it. Nice. I was like, cool, great. It was no ulterior motive. It's like a tick in my brain. I just can't.
So Emily, human design, what's your motivator?
My motivator?
The reason that I'm asking is I have guilt motivation. I have not explored my entire human design, but Breanna told me that I have guilt motivation. And literally why I tell people to fix their shit is I feel guilty if I don't. I feel compelled to tell them what they should do. Otherwise, I feel guilt. And it makes me very unaligned, or I don't know what phrase she used, but basically it's part of my human design is why I tell people to fix their shit.
Oh, interesting. Mine, mine says frustration is my not. So if I'm frustrated, I'm not in alignment, I think is what that means. Again, not an HD person. So take it with a grain of salt. But then it says satisfaction. Might be one of my motivators.
Well, then you're satisfied when other people are doing well and their ads are working properly. Yeah. I mean, I can go with that.
Again, human design is not my thing. I've really last year got into Enneagram.
Enneagram.
So I know
I have an episode on that too. I'm an 8. I have 8 or 3. Yes.
One of those with the curves.
They're really close. They were only separated by a point. And honestly, it was really weird because I had Enneagram Ashton on my podcast. And what I realized is that I am an 8 when it comes to business and that kind of thing. But the 3 comes out when it doesn't have anything to do with business. I mean, you're 1, but I realized when I was answering the questions, I was answering them very differently for what I do as a business owner versus what I do as a wife, a mother, a human. So I find all of this very fascinating. I'm not woo. I've said this multiple times, but I do find this shit fascinating.
I do too, because there's so much overlap especially with the Enneagram. And I found out I was a type 5, and I was like, of course I am.
Is that the peacemaker?
No, it's the information gatherer. It's
information gatherer. Okay.
My core motivation is being seen as competent.
Okay.
And unlike what you're talking about, mine is not different for personal or business. I'm the person my friends come to when they need to problem solve or solve something. I'm the person who figures it out. So it makes sense. But yeah, I see people with links broken or something. I can't not say something. I just can't not. I'm it's a simple fix. And it's costing you more things than you think.
The very first YouTube video that I made that wasn't related to photography, it was instructing people on how you set up your custom domain in Dubsado,
Mm-hmm.
because I was tired of telling people, why are you sending out links that say hello.dubsado? So I made the video. I explained it in less than 5 minutes, showed
Yes.
them how to do it. And then in Facebook groups for the longest, every time someone posted a link, I would go and I would be like, hey, just so that you know, I don't want to see Dubsado and your clients don't either. Here's
Yeah.
my video. Can you imagine me doing that? I know you
Yes, I
can.
can. I can. I can. Yeah. No, for sure.
Okay, so let's wrap this up in terms of
Yeah.
client experience. So
Sure.
we've mentioned that, yes, you should pay attention to your onboarding. It's how you keep your clients interested. It's how you start the experience right. We've
Mm-hmm.
also talked about the fact that when you're offboarding or you're coming to the end of your experience, you should be paying attention to how they feel so that you can figure out if there's another offer that's good for them. And then the big elephant in the room is the messy middle. That is when you can take an experience that might not be going so well for
Mm-hmm.
somebody and kind of flip it on its head so that
Yeah.
at the end of the experience, they are going to give you a rave review instead of just being meh on your
Yeah.
experience. Is there
Yeah.
anything else that we should like hit on in terms of client experience?
I don't know. I feel like that's the big one is, how to get people from I'm so excited I just purchased this thing all the way through whatever your thing you're offering,
Mm-hmm.
service, photography, whatever the goal is for them to have from this experience. They get that. And you've collected the data, the testimony. I mean, that's it
Yes.
right there. So, I
I,
mean, yeah.
Selfishly, the other
Yeah.
reason that I love the SOS calls,
Mm-hmm.
I told Emily, and I think I mentioned it on a group call, but I'm not 100%. One of the things that I bit my tongue so hard right one time it bled. I have noticed that several of my clients get on their 20-minute SOS calls and they start telling me about all their wins. And it is so hard for me to not interrupt and tell them how proud I am or ask questions. I literally purse my mouth and
Mm-hmm.
stare at the computer and like basically count in my head, like, don't interrupt them. Don't interrupt them. Because that is where you get a lot of the gold. It's where you get a
Yeah.
lot of your great testimonials. Because
Yeah.
yes, you can ask them for a testimony at the end, but when they are actually telling you about the win right after it fucking happened
Yeah.
and you're recording their actual words, that's the gold. It's
That's the
not when
goal.
they fill out your form at the end.
No. And in fact, I would strongly suggest if you rely on forms in any fashion, that you give a note at the top for people who don't like filling out forms, like typing, and say you literally can like do a voice dictation in Google Docs, answer the questions, copy and paste.
Yes.
Because one, you're going to get so much better responses because it's literally going to be them voice, talking. But two, if someone opens up a form, a lot of times it's there's so many questions. You know what I mean? Like
my form has a lot of questions in it.
like to be fair. And so I had Emily do that to her a couple of her forms today too. I was like, just put the caveat. Not everybody knows those tools are available or thinks about it when a form's in front of them. And it's so simple for them to just like, okay, question 2, blah, blah, answer, copy, paste.
Yeah. All right, Emily, if people want to hear more about you and like especially your sprint that's 777, get behind the scenes in their business, be nosy as fuck, where can they find you?
Instagram, Threads. I still have half a website maybe, but
Half a website?
It's not really a website. So
Now,
it's
is it your
Instagram.
name or is it Strategic Impact?
It's my name, Emily Mathis.
Okay. Well, guys, I will have all of these linked in the show notes. And Emily, thank you so much for joining me. I mean, I know at some point, although I will say, guys, we rescheduled many times, but it was not actually, it was half and half, which is very unusual.
Yeah.
But like we were supposed to record a few weeks ago and I was like, gosh, Emily, I'm so sorry, but I woke up and I feel like shit. So we're going to have to reschedule again. And I didn't even feel a little bad because she had already rescheduled on me.
Yes, I gave you the permission because I had already done it.
Yes, but I'm going to have all of her contact information linked in the show notes. And I just want to say from both Emily and I that if you have not looked at your client experience, in the last, let's say, quarter. I mean, if we have to go out to 6 months, I guess we can. But if you have not looked at your client experience in that amount of time, I want you to put some time on your calendar to do it. I'm not saying drop everything and do it today, but put an hour on your calendar so that you can go through some of your service, emails, your actual container, all of those things, so that you can improve your client experience a little bit. And if you need help from like the service side or the group program side, I'm sure one of us can help you.
One of us can.
One of us can. All right, everybody. That's it for this episode. See you next time.